does can everyone be an entrepreneur, or are there specific traits that you're sort of born with that like you just can't learn, or can everyone really be an entrepreneur?
I don't think there's anything that you're born with. I think there's certainly an aspect of privilege to being an entrepreneur. So, you know, when I decided to start a company, I was 21 or 22. I had about $6,000 in the bank, and I had no student loans. Largely thanks to my parents paying for college, but I also got a track scholarship, and being athletic scholarship, and so I basically was able to graduate with an undergrad and master's with no debt. Stories are complex, right? It's easy. Like, I think people want to like label things, and baked into my story was some privilege. Like, I had upper middle class parents who had a college fund for me, saved money for college, but also like I worked hard. Like no one in my family was ever an athlete. No one from my school was really like the kind of like school that would like produce athletes. Like, I went against the grain and became this like pretty solid runner, and earned a scholarship. And so, like, was it all privilege? No. Was it all hard work? No. But basically what that resulted in was I could start a company. I wasn't a single mom of 3 kids, like swimming in debt. And I was like, oh, I like, I'm going to take a risk. Like, single moms of 3 kids swimming in debt, like, can't take a risk. They gotta like put food on the table like every single day. Whereas I had $6,000 in the bank, and I had a credit card, and I had parents who like never bailed me out, but like I knew that I probably wasn't going to die broke on the street if like this failed. And so I basically decided to, take a risk. I'm making air quotes. I know this is a podcast, it doesn't make sense, but so, this like myth that entrepreneurship is about these risk takers, it's generally like limited to people who can take risks, right? And then, once I did decide to take that risk, I think what being a successful entrepreneur boils down to is basically like stubbornness and being able to figure it out, right? And that, I don't think, had anything to do with my specific upbringing. I think often, generally, like, immigrants are much better entrepreneurs because immigrants are the kind of people who figure stuff out, right? Like, getting to the US is not an easy, like, it's not like no one rolls out the red carpet, especially like lately. And so people who can figure out how to get to the US often make better entrepreneurs, just statistically, like, at least from what I've read. And I don't think there's really a big gender or race disparity. I think, yeah, it's about privilege and then just being able to figure it out. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, like, certain stars have to align for you to get into that situation where you can have that sort of mindset that, yeah, I can start my business, right?
Yeah, stars aligning makes it sound too,
To like privilege, like it like there's still hard work. There's still that aspect of like self-initiative.
yeah, like if it was a single mom, I think she would have a harder time. But I think she could. I think that, I definitely, there are definitely plenty of stories of single moms who are fantastically, like, much more successful than I am, entrepreneurs, because they have like an even bigger dose of that willingness to, like, fight through and figure stuff out and, like, take the uncharted path. And so, yeah, and I think anyone can do it, but it's scary because there's no guarantees, right? Like, even when I started my company, I ended up racking up $12,000 in credit card debt over the first couple of years. Not through abusive spending or like some like naive attempt to spend money to make money, but like literally just to like buy the cheapest groceries I could buy to, like, survive while I was like trying to get someone to, like, pay me money. I think my first year in business, I made $14,000 top line revenue before my company's expenses, which was, a couple $1,000 something. So I maybe had $10,000, and now it's like, $800 a month or something. And that's just not enough to live on, by any, I think my rent was 400. I mean, you can start cutting up $800. Like, there's no amount of frugality that's going to make that work. So I basically had to, I didn't have to, but I chose to live on credit cards. And then, yeah, I did that for basically 2 years before I was able to start paying myself enough to get out of debt.